Beginning. The first thing Captain Elias Rook heard was screaming, sharp, high-pitched, and layered with fear that transcended language. He didn't understand the alien dialect, but fear had a universal grammar. The market district of Port Helios was chaos. Vendors were scattering, stalls were burning, and the air was filled with the metallic crack of pulse weapons. Pirates. Always pirates. They came in fast, struck soft targets, and vanished before any official fleet could respond. Elias wasn't supposed to be here. He was a cargo pilot, not a soldier, hauling water processors to outer colonies. But the screams cut through his fatigue, through the years of trying to mind his own business in a galaxy that rewarded indifference. He ran toward the sound. A small figure stumbled into the street, an alien child, no more than 6 or 7 by human standards. Its skin shimmered with iridescent scales, and its eyes were enormous, reflecting the flames and chaos like twin mirrors. Behind it, a pirate raised a blade-like plasma lance, laughing through his helmet. "Easy credits," the pirate said in broken trade common. "Exotic specimen. Buyers will love you." The child froze, trembling, claws digging into the pavement. Elias didn't think. He just moved. He tackled the pirate from the side. The lance skittered across the ground, discharging harmlessly into a wall. The pirate swore and drew a vibro knife. Elias saw the blade flash, saw it too late. The first strike pierced his shoulder. The second hit his side. Then another, and another, the knife moving faster than any human should be able to react. Pirates use cybernetic enhancements. Elias had none. He wrapped his body around the child, shielding it. The pirate cursed again and drove the blade in repeatedly, 8 times in total. By the time the port's security drones arrived, Elias could barely see. He remembered the child's trembling hands touching his face. Remembered the faint, chiming sound it made, maybe gratitude, maybe fear. Then everything went dark. Middle. Elias awoke to silence. Not the sterile hum of a hospital, but something deeper, an oppressive quiet that felt like being underwater. His eyes fluttered open and he realized he wasn't in a medical bay. He was in a massive chamber, its walls carved with geometric patterns that glowed faintly with internal light. He tried to move and felt pain, sharp, controlled, distant. Someone had done a remarkable job stitching him back together. He sat up and froze. They were standing around his bed. Tall, armored, inhuman. At least 20 figures formed a semicircle around him, each wearing black and gold exosuits that looked more like ceremonial armor than battlefield gear. Their helmets were shaped to accommodate a variety of alien physiologies: elongated skulls, multifaceted eyes, horned crests. Their posture was disciplined, still as statues. He knew that armor. Every spacer knew that armor. The Veylrian Praetorians. The galaxy's deadliest elite. They were the personal guard of the Veylrian Matriarch, a species so ancient and powerful that most governments avoided even speaking their name. They didn't wage wars. They ended them. Elias swallowed. "I think I'm in the wrong hospital." One of them stepped forward. Its helmet retracted, revealing a face like polished obsidian, with eyes that glowed faintly gold. It spoke in flawless trade common. "You are Captain Elias Rook." "Was," Elias corrected weakly. "Pretty sure I died." "You did not. You were reconstructed." "That's comforting?" Another figure moved, smaller, more delicate. Was the child. Now clean, wrapped in a robe of shimmering fabric, its scales glowed softly. It approached his bed, eyes wide and unblinking. "This is Kethare," the Praetorian said. "He is the Matriarch's only offspring." Elias stared. "The Matriarch?" The Praetorian inclined its head. "Yes." His brain struggled to process the implications. He had shielded the child of one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The pirates hadn't known what they were trying to steal. If they had, Port Helios wouldn't exist anymore. Kethare extended a small clawed hand and touched Elias's arm. A translator implant buzzed in Elias's ear, then activated. He was afraid, the child's voice echoed softly in his mind. But he stood anyway. Elias felt something twist in his chest. "Kid, that's what people are supposed to do." The Praetorian stepped aside and the chamber doors opened. She entered. The Matriarch of Veylrian. She was enormous, easily 3 meters tall, her body a graceful blend of organic curves and crystalline structures. Her eyes burned with ancient intelligence. The room seemed to bend around her presence. She approached Elias's bed and studied him in silence. Every Praetorian dropped to one knee. "You are fragile," she said, her voice resonating directly in his mind. "Yet you chose to be strong." Elias cleared his throat. "Didn't feel strong at the time." "Strength is not measured by survival probability," she replied. "It is measured by intent." She extended a limb and a holographic projection appeared above his bed. It replayed the security footage, him running, tackling the pirate, shielding Kethare, absorbing each strike. "You accepted death for a being you did not know," she said. "Why?" He shrugged, wincing. "Because he was a kid." The matriarch tilted her head. "Explain." "Kids shouldn't die for adult problems. Simple math." A ripple passed through the Praetorians. The concept seemed alien to them. The matriarch's gaze softened. "In my people's history, such a concept has never existed." She turned to Kethare. "He acted against all rational survival instincts." The child nodded. "He was warm." Elias chuckled weakly. "I was bleeding out." "Warmth can be emotional as well," the matriarch said. "Your species is perplexing." She raised her gaze. "You will be rewarded." "Ah," Elias said, "I'd settle for a bill that doesn't bankrupt me." She ignored him. "You will become part of the Veylrian Compact." The Praetorians shifted again. That was unprecedented. Humans were considered minor players, tolerated, rarely trusted. "You will be granted protection, status, and resources beyond your species' comprehension," she continued. "In return, you will teach my offspring about humanity." Elias blinked. "You want me to be, what, a tutor?" "Yes." He looked at Kethare, who was staring at him with open curiosity. "This is the weirdest job offer I've ever received." The matriarch's eyes glowed brighter. "Declining is not advised." Middle, Part 2. The weeks that followed were surreal. Elias was transported to Veylrian Prime, a planet that made Earth's greatest cities look like primitive villages. Floating structures hovered above oceans of bioluminescent organisms. The sky was filled with living ships that looked more like colossal creatures than machines. He was given quarters larger than his entire apartment on Port Helios. Medical nanites rebuilt his damaged organs, enhanced his muscles, and repaired his nervous system. He felt stronger, faster, still human but optimized. Kethare visited daily. The child was endlessly curious. He asked about Earth, about human families, about stories, about music. Elias told him about deserts, oceans, and the strange human habit of telling fictional tales to understand reality. "Why tell stories that are not true?" Kethare asked. "Because sometimes truth is easier to understand when you wrap it in a lie," Elias replied. Kethare considered this. "Humans are inefficient." "Yeah," Elias said. "But we're fun." The Praetorians observed their sessions from a distance. They were warriors bred for loyalty, genetically engineered and culturally conditioned to serve the matriarch without question. Elias sensed they were evaluating him as a potential threat, or a potential asset. One Praetorian, Commander Threx, began speaking with him directly. "You saved Kethare without hesitation," Threx said. "Why risk genetic termination for a non-kin?" "Genetic termination?" Elias repeated. "Death," Threx clarified. "Because someone had to," Elias said. "And I was there." Threx studied him. "That is not a logical response. Welcome to humans." Over time, Elias realized something unsettling. The Veylrians were brilliant, powerful, technologically superior, but emotionally distant. Their civilization was built on calculated survival, genetic optimization, and strict hierarchies. Compassion was not a foundational value. Kethare was growing up in a world that could conquer galaxies but didn't understand kindness. One evening, alarms rang across the palace. A hostile fleet had entered Veylrian territory. A rival empire, the Karshek Dominion, had launched a surprise assault, believing the matriarch weakened by focusing on her offspring. The Praetorians mobilized instantly. Elias was escorted to a secure chamber, but Kethare refused to leave him. They will win? The child asked. Not if your mom is half as scary as everyone says, Elias replied. The Matriarch appeared via hologram. The Dominion seeks to test us. They will fail. But Elias noticed something in her tone, uncertainty. The battle lasted days. Veylrian ships clashed with Dominion dreadnoughts, entire star systems lit by weapons fire. Eventually the Dominion breached the outer defenses and landed troops on Veylria Prime. The palace trembled. Kethare clutched Elias's hand. You are afraid. Yeah, Elias admitted. But being afraid doesn't mean you run. The child nodded. Like you. The doors burst open. Dominion soldiers poured in, armored in jagged metal, firing indiscriminately. The Praetorians fought with terrifying efficiency, but they were outnumbered. Elias grabbed a fallen weapon. He wasn't a soldier, but he knew how to pull a trigger. He stood in front of Kethare again. 8 blades had nearly killed him once. He wasn't letting anything touch the kid again. The Matriarch descended into the chamber, her presence radiating fury. You dare? She roared into the minds of every being present. Her power was not just political, it was psionic. She crushed the invading soldiers with sheer force of will. But it was Elias who inspired the Praetorians. They saw him, fragile, human, unmodified, standing his ground again. Not because of duty, not because of programming, but because of choice. Commander Threx rallied them. Observe the human. He is not engineered for war. Yet he stands. We will not fall behind a being who chose courage. The Praetorians surged forward with renewed ferocity. The Dominion retreated. And after the war, the Matriarch summoned Elias and Kethare to the Grand Spire. You have altered my people, she said. Sorry? Elias said. Do not apologize, she replied. The Praetorians now question doctrine. They ask why a human would sacrifice himself without compulsion. Good question, Elias said. You should ask them. Kethare looked up at him. Why did you do it again? Elias thought for a moment. Because someone showed me kindness once when I didn't deserve it. I figured I'd pass it on. The Matriarch considered this. Compassion as a cultural contagion. More like a virus you actually want to catch, Elias said. She looked at her child. You will learn this. Kethare smiled, a strange, shimmering gesture that wasn't standard for his species. Will you stay? He asked Elias. Elias looked out over the vast alien world, the Praetorians training in the distance, the Matriarch watching a civilization that might change forever. He thought about Port Helios, about cargo runs, about anonymity. Then he thought about a small alien child trembling in a burning street, and how everything had changed because he had chosen not to walk away. Yeah, he said softly. I'll stay. The Matriarch extended a limb, marking him with a symbol that would be recognized across the galaxy. Then you are Veylrian by choice, she declared. Elias felt the weight of it, responsibility, belonging, and something dangerously close to hope. Somewhere in the galaxy, pirates and empires would tell stories about the human who took 8 blades for an alien child, and lived. But Elias knew the truth. He hadn't done it to become a legend. He had done it because, in that moment, kindness felt more important than survival. And in a galaxy built on power and fear, that might have been the most dangerous weapon of all.